About a week ago, we talked about how a new official Nintendo Switch controller was leaked, but we had no 100% idea what it would be. Lots of speculation on this one. Myself, I thought maybe it could be a Pro controller revision, maybe even incorporating a 3.5 millimeter jack for a headset, but that doesn't sound extremely exciting to me. I mean, it does sound like it could be cool and nifty for some people, but still not crazy. People want crazy, don't they? The other ideas were a Nintendo 64 controller coming, with Nintendo 64 games being included with the Switch Online service. I saw others in my comments section saying it could be a Game Boy attachment or a controller, but I just don't think they will do something like that for the Switch. I mean, the Game Boy just uses two buttons. Why would we need an attachment for the Switch? Or a controller specifically for the Game Boy? Maybe Game Boy branded Joy-Cons? I don't know. There were so many ideas out there. You just never know. I mean, just a few years ago, Nintendo did file a patent for a Game Boy device. It really looked like it could have been a cell phone attachment type of thing. But still, we haven't seen anything come of that. I talked about it before a few years ago and nothing. Not anything yet anyway. I mean, could this be part of that? I doubt it, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, others said with the firmware for the Switch being updated to finally allow Bluetooth audio devices, that it could be a Nintendo-branded Bluetooth headset. Now, I just dismissed that possibility as the FCC filings were specifically referring to a Bluetooth controller and using the same batteries as a Joy-Con. I think most of the time Nintendo doesn't really create those kind of secondary accessories. They usually leave that kind of stuff up to third parties to make, and sometimes Nintendo will give the official Nintendo licensed product designation to it. So I just don't see Nintendo making a headset. And like I said, this is a controller, 100%. No doubt about it. But what kind of controller? Now, all of a sudden, Nintendo has announced there will be a Nintendo Direct tomorrow. This isn't surprising to me, as it is getting closer to the holidays, and it's about time to hype up their releases for the rest of the year. And that's what this Direct seems to be focused on. 40 minutes of information focused mainly on Switch games releasing this winter. Mainly is the key word here. I think the expectation of these types of Directs can float up in the clouds for many people, but myself, I never go into these things expecting crazy surprises or some off-the-wall new announcement that sets the world on fire, because chances are it won't happen and a ton of people will voice their displeasure with what was announced, and I just don't do that. I mean, who knows for sure? I do have my hopes, but I do feel Nintendo may have some sweet stuff to share with us. We'll just have to wait and see. It's tomorrow, but I do think with everything I'm talking about, it's all going to fall into place here that Nintendo may be doing a Zelda HD collection with Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. I'm having a good feeling that this may be announced. It's still the year of Zelda's 35th anniversary, and, we are going to be getting that Zelda Game & Watch come November. I think this may be a good time to remind y'all, subscribe, hit that like button, tickle its taint a little bit, set notifications, do all that cool stuff. It helps the dude out greatly, and it is appreciated. I do have some cool stuff coming up, including some giveaways, including at least a couple of those Zelda Game & Watches that we just mentioned, so stay tuned for that. Now, with my thoughts of a possible Zelda collection coming and being heavily focused on the Nintendo 64 titles, I mean, is it crazy to think that if that happens, a Nintendo 64 controller could also be coming? Going back to that FCC filing that we discussed, a new bit of information did just come out. Now, I remember talking about how that filing had a confidentiality block on it, saying how, with some of the more telling documents anyway, that would be all confidential until next year sometime. But now, all of a sudden, Nintendo has revised that filing to expire on the 24th of September this year, one day after the Nintendo Direct. So I feel after the mainly focused on games part, Nintendo will officially unveil a new controller in this Direct. I'm willing to put money on it. It will be announced, but I am still so unsure of what it could be. My gut tells me, my big ass gut does tell me, it may be a Nintendo 64 controller, but I've also voiced my concerns of them remaking that controller and having to make adjustments to the stick and all that stuff. But who knows? I mean, Nintendo does like to do some crazy stuff that we don't think is possible. But I mean, we could argue all day. Some people think it's possible. Myself, I had my doubts. But, like I said, I don't like to set myself up for disappointment. So I'm not wagering on anything specific other than for sure a controller will be announced. Guaranteed it will be announced tomorrow. But I also at the same time start to feel my thought of a revised Pro controller may not be true. Now, if you go back to that FCC listing that we talked about in my previous video, it was listed that this controller, like I said, it's not a headset. The filing specifically said it is a controller. It uses the same battery as a Joy-Con. Now going back, looking at the other accessories Nintendo has put out, the Super Nintendo and NES controllers, they use the same damn battery. The Pro controller doesn't use that battery. So maybe it will be a Nintendo 64 controller after all. But shit, I need to stop hoping for things. I mean, it's speculation. It's fun. That's all I'm here for. I don't typically get crazy hyped, but this year, Nintendo, I don't know. I've played my Switch way more than I have in previous years. I don't know what changed for me. I mean, I've always liked the Switch. I've always loved Nintendo, but this year, it's been like a Nintendo year for me, and I'm really amped up to see what they have coming out the rest of this year. We have that Switch OLED coming out in just a couple weeks. We will be taking a look at that on release date, hopefully. I mean, some of these things are getting hard to get. I do have mine pre-ordered, and I have an extra one pre-ordered. Stay tuned for that. You guys know what's up. When I first hit, I think it was 1,000 subscribers, we gave away a Nintendo Switch when it came out. So I figured, you know what? The Switch OLED, that'll be a nice little giveaway as well. So for sure, stay tuned for that. We will be giving away a Switch OLED, the white one. That's all I got pre-orders. A couple of them with the white Joy-Cons. But yeah, I'm really excited to watch this Direct. Normally, I mean, I'm just being honest. Like I said in this video, I don't usually get hyped for Directs, and I usually watch them later on. I very rarely have watched them while they were actually live. Because I just know usually it's not that crazy exciting for me, but I just have this gut feeling that this time some special shit's going to be happening. So I'm curious to hear what you guys got to say. This isn't a console war type thing. This isn't a who cares type of thing. This is just a friendly conversation and discussion with you guys. Appreciate every single one of y'all mofos. Catch you on the next one.